So today I want to continue my sort of mini-series here on YouTube where we're all stuck at home due to the outbreak of COVID-19, and so I'm using this little blackboard. I'm going to continue with that, but I also want to introduce you all to my dog, Tarski, and the reason I'm doing that is because I've also been teaching lectures online for the university for the past couple of weeks, and I think Tarski is by far the most popular component of those lectures, so I thought you all might like to get a chance to see him too. Tarski's actually always here, even when I'm doing the videos in my office. He's in my office, but this is his first appearance on the channel, so that's a first. Okay, so today I want to talk about a little bit more about equations, and I want to show you a way that equations can go wrong. So let's say that x is equal to 1. Now this is already kind of a reversal. Normally we're using equations to find the values of variables. Now I'm saying that x equals 1, but we can still write equations with x and work with them, and in the back of our minds we can know that x is supposed to be equal to 1, but we can work with the equations also as if we don't know that. So if x equals 1, then we know that x squared is equal to x. That's because 1 has the property that 1 times 1 is equal to 1. And that means that x squared minus 1 is equal to x minus 1, just subtracting x from both sides. Now this is a difference of squares, and if you've seen this before, you know that x squared minus 1 is equal to x plus 1 times x minus 1. So on the side, I'm going to show you that this is equal to this just by multiplying it out. X plus 1 times x minus 1 is equal to x squared minus x plus x minus 1, and these cancel, so I get x squared minus 1. So this actually works in general, but in particular here, we have x squared minus 1 is the same as x plus 1 times x minus 1. Now, this is x minus 1 and this is x minus 1, so I can cancel these. I can divide both sides by x minus 1 and get x plus 1 equals 1. And that tells me that x equals 0 by subtracting 1 from both sides. But x equals 1, so that tells me that 1 equals 0. So what happened? What went wrong here? So I'm going to tell you what went wrong. If you want to try to figure it out for yourself, then pause the video now. But let's kind of trace through this process where instead of using x, let's put in the value of 1, which we know x is supposed to be. And we started out with 1 squared equals 1. That part's good. That's true. That's how we started. Then I subtracted 1 from both sides, so I got 1 squared minus 1 equals 1 minus 1. And that's just to say that 0 equals 0. That's true too. Now I factored this, and I got x plus 1, which is 2, times x minus 1, which is 0, equals x minus 1, which is 0. So even up to here, this is still true. 2 times 0 is indeed equal to 0. Okay, so the problem didn't occur when I did this thing here. 2 times 0 is 0. The problem is in the next step, because this idea of canceling is what we're really doing, as I mentioned, is that we're dividing both sides by x minus 1. What's x minus 1? What I got was 2 times 0 divided by 0 equals 0 divided by 0. And if you've learned anything in math, it's that you don't divide by 0. But that's exactly what we did here. To get to this line, I essentially said 2 times 0 divided by 0 cancel is 2, and 0 divided by 0, well, that's something over something, so that's 1. And I got 2 equals 1. And if you get 2 equals 1, then it's not hard to get 1 equals 0 by subtracting 1 from both sides. So this is where things went wrong, dividing by 0. And although this looks obviously wrong, it's fully possible to divide by 0 without realizing it when you use variables. So when I cancel x minus 1 from both sides, I have to remember that this only makes sense if x minus 1 is not equal to 0, which is to say, if x is not equal to 1. So there's a little illustration of how dividing by 0 can give you very wrong answers.